Broncos country, Broncos country. How are we feeling out there as the Denver Broncos don't just win their first game of the season, not their second game of the season, but their third straight win for their third win of the season. And I don't know about y'all. The Tampa game was good, but I think this has got to feel like the best victory of the season for the Denver Broncos as they take down their rival, Las Vegas Raiders. Your final score, 34-18. Bo Nix in the offense, putting it together in the second half. Defense started a bit shaky, but clamped down as the game went along. You love to see it. Not much more you can ask for from the Denver Broncos this afternoon. And I'll talk about this at some point throughout the show. Why can't those just be the uniforms moving forward? Why can't they just wear that uniform every single game? Those uniforms today were chef's kiss. What a game for the Broncos. We'll break it all down for you on today's Locked On Broncos POSTCAST. Let's get into it, folks.
You are Locked On Broncos POSTCAST, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, Broncos country, and welcome on into your Locked On Broncos POSTCAST. I am your host, Aniello Piro. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP, and do me a favor and make sure to subscribe to that Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. That way you guys never, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Broncos POSTCAST, your Locked On Buffs POSTCAST, your Locked On Nuggets POSTCAST, and when we get back to baseball season, your Locked On Rockies POSTCAST, all hosted by yours truly, AP. Hope you guys are doing well out there. I'm sure Broncos country is feeling great, absolutely fantastic. After not only do you get a thorough victory, but you kind of exercise some of your demons, you get the monkey off your back, and you beat the Las Vegas Raiders in convincing fashion to snap that 8-game losing streak. The last time before today that the Denver Broncos were able to beat the Las Vegas Raiders was all the way back in 2019. We're talking pre-pandemic here, guys. Drew Lock was the quarterback for the Denver Broncos in that game the last time the Broncos beat the Raiders, of course, before today's 34-18 thumping of their rival. And just like that, the game last week against the Jets was not pretty. The game against Tampa was super fun. But to me, this is the first time this season where they put together a relatively complete game. You had it all. You had Patrick Surtain solidifying himself as the best cornerback in football. He's the highest paid cornerback in football for a reason. 2 interceptions today for PS2, including a 100-yard pick 6. You absolutely love to see that. Bo Nix in the offense putting it together in the second half. And at the end of the day, not too much to be complaining about, I would say, from the Denver Broncos perspective as they take down their rival today in the Las Vegas Raiders. But let's dive right on into it, folks. I mean, where do we want to start? I could talk a little PS2. I could talk a little offense. Make sure to drop some comments so you guys let me know how you're feeling after this game because I'm sure Broncos country, after the 0-2 start to the season, we're probably all scratching our heads like, oh, no, here we go again with this Denver Broncos team. But all of a sudden, just like that, 3 weeks in a row, 3 wins in a row, and it feels like the Broncos season has a little bit of new life. And the reason that I say that, the reason I feel more so this way after this game today than I would have against the Raiders or the Buccaneers is because not only have you been able to string together a couple of wins, but last week's win against the Jets, I thought was more about the Jets' inability to, put some points up on the scoreboard. I'm not trying to take anything away from the Broncos defense, but today you saw it all kind of working together. Like I said, offense started slow, picked it up as the second half went along, and you saw some really, really nice defense down the stretch here for the Denver Broncos in the second half. They only allowed 8 total points, and all of those 8 points came in the fourth quarter for the Las Vegas Raiders after they jumped out to an early lead with that early touchdown for Las Vegas. But taking a look at some of the statistics today, guys, 19 for 27 was Bo Nix, 206 passing yards, 7.6 yards per average, 2 touchdowns, but most importantly to me, No interceptions, no rookie mistakes in regards to throwing an interception from Bo Nix today. And we had some wacky quarterback play today across the league. You saw CJ Stroud throwing some bad interceptions. Lamar Jackson fumbled the football, and for Bo Nix to play a clean game for the most part. I know there was a fumble at one point in this game as well. He received the fumble, rather. Luke Wattenberg was the one who gave up the fumble, or what is the terminology? Allowed the fumble? I don't exactly know. But go ahead and drop some comments, guys. Let me know how you guys are feeling out there after the Denver Broncos victory, because I think, and this stat line for Bo Nix, this is what you want to see moving forward. Didn't have to put the weight of the world on his shoulders. 19 for 27, 206 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interception, for a rating of 117.2. That is the recipe for success. And I think what's so awesome about Bo Nix's performance today is that he had to come from behind, because I'm not going to lie. When the Broncos went down early, I was sitting here watching the red zone, got the Bronco game, got the baseball game on, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know if the Broncos, they're not a team that's necessarily built to come from behind per se. We just haven't really seen them do it. Like, I don't know about y'all, but the results that we had seen so far through the first 4 weeks of the season did not make me think that this Broncos offense and Bo Nix was, I don't want to say not capable, but we knew it was going to be an uphill battle. And in the second half, it's almost like, when you turn your car on in the winter and it's cold out, it's like the Broncos turned their car on at the start of the game. And by the time we got to the second half, they really settled into a nice groove. The RPMs were good, the gauges were good, and they were off at that point. And really from the second half on, I thought the Broncos did a good job of just kind of keeping their foot on the gas. They end up taking a 13-10 lead into halftime, thanks to a boneheaded penalty from the Las Vegas Raiders. It was I believe a 59 or a 60-yard attempt from kicker Will Lutz, right before the half, ends up being a penalty on the play. So Lutz gets a do-over after he misses that one and kicks it right through the uprights to give the Broncos a 3-0 lead heading into halftime. So you'll love to see that. And just the overall resiliency, I would say, was on display. And like I said, I think you kind of see it all coming together. It's like a nice pot of soup, right? You gotta let the ingredients marinate a little bit to kind of bring out the flavor profile. And it feels like after 4 games in this offense, Bo Nix is starting to figure it out. And I was gonna save this for after the break, but I want to talk PS2 in the next segment. I love, and I'm sure if you're on social media, if you were watching the game on TV, you saw the interaction between Bo Nix and Sean Payton on the sideline at one point, where Bo Nix, a bit fiery, a bit feisty, arguing, yelling, getting in the face of Sean Payton a little bit, in a passionate way. It wasn't like he was ticked off to the point that he didn't want to deal with this guy. But Bo Nix, the rookie quarterback here, letting Sean Payton know how he was feeling. And I think if any of you were able to catch the post-game press conference, I doubt Payton talked about it, but I don't know exactly what that exchange was about. It may have been about the play calling and the overall dynamic of the game. But I love the energy and passion and willingness of Bo Nix to essentially go eye to eye with his head coach, who is one of the most successful active head coaches in the NFL. I know that success hasn't directly translated to the Broncos just yet, right? He won his Super Bowl, all those playoff appearances with New Orleans, but I never saw Russell Wilson get in the face of Sean Payton, even when Sean Payton, in my opinion, was doing him a little bit dirty last season. I don't feel like Russell Wilson was, I don't think Russell Wilson's as good as he once was, naturally. That's why he's not playing in Pittsburgh. But there was a couple of times last year where Sean Payton got up in Russ's face and Russ just kind of sat there and took it. And, the way that I see it here is, San Diego just hit a home run to start out that game in the baseball world. So I got all the TV screens on here. But I love the fact that Bo Nix was willing to, go up, stick his face in Sean Payton's face and let him know what he was feeling. Because to me, Sean Payton hates the confidence question. He hates when people ask him, do you think Bo's confident? What do you think about Bo? The offense hasn't been so good. When I see Bo Nix tell Sean Payton how he really feels and how he thinks he can be better and how things can improve, that to me is the ultimate sign of confidence in a leader and in a quarterback, specifically in a rookie. That's a little uncharted territory. Like, I'm trying to think, like George Pickens. Let's use him as the example for a second here. I know he's not a quarterback, but you see George Pickens kind of show his frustration on the field, early in his career when he wasn't getting targets, wasn't securing the ball, whatever it might be. Like, there's a difference between that and what Bo Nix did today. Bo Nix went up to Sean Payton for the good of the team, and I don't think he was trying to make an impression to the offense or anything along those lines, but the fact that he's willing to speak his mind and tell Sean Payton what's up, what he's seeing out there, because there was a moment in the middle of the game where Max Crosby, the Las Vegas Raiders pass rusher, was kind of chirping back and forth to Bo Nix as he's making his audibles and making his calls at the line of scrimmage, like, speak up, they can't hear you. And Bo Nix, interesting guy. You probably watched his post-game press conferences. Doesn't seem like the extremely vocal type all the time, but I think you saw today that when he identifies something or he feels like something needs to be said, he does not care who he has to say it to in order to get the job done. It could be Sean Payton, could be the offensive coordinator, could be his receivers, could be his offensive line, right? And I just loved the feistiness from Bo Nix because I felt like that set the tone for the Denver Broncos offense throughout the course of this game after that happened as well. But all in all, it was a phenomenal victory for Denver. Your final score, 34-18. Guys, drop some comments. Let me know how you guys are feeling out there as the Broncos buck the streak and the losing skid to the Las Vegas Raiders, and more importantly, improve to 3-2 on the season as they are now above 500. We'll see what happens in the next few games here coming up, but so far so good, at least in the last 3 weeks, as the Denver Broncos continue to move forward in this season. So, all right, let's hit a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we got to talk about Patrick Surtain, man. I mean, there's a reason why he's the highest paid cornerback in the league. All due respect to Sauce Gardner, all due respect to all these other great cornerbacks in the NFL. Patrick Surtain is a quiet giant out there. I mean, he's humble, doesn't talk a lot. I've had the pleasure to interview PS2 a few times. We've had him on the cover of our magazine at Mile High Sports. And even when you kind of get him in that, away from the arena, away from football, he's still the same person as he is on the field, as he is off the field. And he lets his play do the talking. So we'll hit a quick break. We'll come back and talk about Patrick Surtain because he's incredible and just a dynamite game. Absolutely dynamite game from PS2. So stick with us. We'll be right back and do just that right here on your Locked On Broncos postcast. Stick with us, folks. All right, you guys, real quick, let me tell you about our friends over at LinkedIn. Guys, when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are for the right role for you. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board, though. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or the resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million. Let me say that again. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they do apply. So if you're someone that's looking to hire for your business or you're looking to bring people in, make sure to check out our friends over at LinkedIn and check them out online, linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. All right, you guys, and let me also tell you about our friends over at BetterHelp here, guys. And you're going to want to listen up to this because our friends over at BetterHelp are absolutely incredible. Halloween lets us have fun with what scares us, but what about those fears that don't involve zombies and ghosts? Therapy is a great tool for facing your fears and finding ways to overcome them, because sometimes the scariest thing is not facing our fears in the first place and holding ourselves back. Guys, if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn. And I might need to give my friends at BetterHelp a call after the way the Mets lost today. I'm a big Met fan. Shout out Broncos, but that ripped my soul out a little bit. But be sure to check out our friends over at BetterHelp, guys. Convenient, flexible online therapy. Visit them at BetterHelp.com/LockedOn. Okay, you guys, welcome on back into your Locked On Broncos postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP, and do me a favor, make sure to subscribe to that Locked On Sports Denver Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel, so that way you guys never ever miss an episode of your Locked On Broncos, Locked On Buffs, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Rockies postcast, all hosted by yours truly. But this is the Broncos show, so let's get right on into it again after the break here. And drop some comments, guys. Let me know how you're feeling after the Denver Broncos take care of business against the Las Vegas Raiders. In my opinion, their best win of the season so far. Tampa was fun. New York was lucky. This was a thorough victory in front of the home fans in the most beautiful jerseys in the NFL. Those 77 throwback uniforms, man, woo, I saw the pictures going around on social media. You saw Bo Nix walking in a throwback Elway jersey today. I saw another player walking in a throwback Atwater jersey today. And as soon as I saw Bo Nix wearing that throwback uni, I was like, you know what? Today's going to be a good day. Today is going to be a good day for the Denver Broncos, and it absolutely turned out to be. But let's talk about Patrick Surtain, man. I mean, what can't this guy do? He's an incredible coverage corner. I'm not putting him on Revis Island level just yet. I know he had 2 interceptions today. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. But in regards to cornerbacks in the NFL right now, I don't think you're finding a more effective CB than PS2. I mean, he has the 100-yard pick 6 return, which I really help feel like bring this game to life for the Denver Broncos, specifically at that point in the game. You're down in that situation. Vegas is in the red zone, looking to put up more points, looking to expand their lead. And Patrick Surtain, Johnny on the spot, secures an absolutely sensational interception, jumping in front of that pass from Gardner Minshew, and Minshew ends up getting replaced in this game for quarterback Aiden O'Connell, which is not a surprise. And he runs it back for 100 yards. That is the second longest pick 6 interception return in Broncos franchise history. Aqib Talib did a 103-yard interception return. That is the franchise leader, but 100-yard return, I mean, you're going to take that every single time you can get it. Frank Crum coming in for Bowles and dominating the right side after he came in. Knicks had all day. Absolutely. I want to keep talking about PS2 real quick, but then we could talk about the offensive line. What do you think, Christopher? Patrick Surtain, best cornerback in the NFL? Let me know. What was your play of the game? Was it that? Was it the swapping of the offensive line? Was it Bo Nix settling into a groove? Let me know, guys. Drop some comments. What was your biggest takeaway from the game today as the Denver Broncos end their losing skid against the Las Vegas Raiders? But real quick on PS2, guys. I mean, he's a stud. And I believe I said this on last week's episode of the Locked On Broncos postcast as well. The Broncos only have one player on their defense that is actively playing right now. That is a first-round draft pick. And that, of course, is Patrick Surtain. And that's not to take away from anybody else. I mean, Riley Moss, you see his interception today? Riley Moss is balling out. I mean, the Broncos are strong at the cornerback position, because that's the thing, is when you're Riley Moss and your teammate on the other side at the opposite position is Patrick Surtain, that defenses are going to try to pick you apart. And, he's given up some plays this season. Don't get me wrong. He's not Patrick Surtain, but as a complimentary cornerback, I mean, Riley Moss is playing his rear end off this season, guys. And last year was his first season in the league, getting an opportunity to kind of step into this role this year as a starter. We thought maybe in the offseason it could be J.L. Skinner, maybe a couple other guys. And I was at Broncos training camp. I was at some OTAs. He stood out from the moment the pads came on, the moments practice started up in the offseason. PS2 all day, game swinging momentum. I could not agree with you more, Chris. I felt like if Vegas, even if it's just a field goal, but if Vegas gets in the end zone and that sequence for 7 points, like I said to start the show, and I know that they had to come from behind today, but you add a 17-point or a 13-point deficit, And you're sitting there like, okay, like, yeah, we're at home. Yeah, it's the Raiders. But then, some of these thoughts probably start creeping into your head a little bit. Maybe, at least with the fan base, you're thinking, is this going to be 9 straight? I'm not going to lie. I kind of thought that when they went up 10-0. And I know that it was early in the game, but I was like, oh, man, just what we saw from Bo Nix last week, 60 passing yards. Yes, they got the win, but not exactly inspiring in regards to that win, offensively at least. I completely agree. That Patrick Surtain pick six, what was all the momentum the Broncos needed to keep their foot on the gas at that point moving forward to secure the victory. Sharon says, Denver defense is lights out and the offense is coming around. Completely agree with that assessment. And what's funny is I believe the total for this game, if you like to play the numbers, was 36.5. The Broncos nearly hit that on their own today with the offense. 34 points. When was the last time the Broncos scored 34 points? I'm going to look this up real quick. Let's look this up because I think it has been quite some time since the Broncos, it used to be the dreaded 16. With this Broncos offense. When was the last time? Drop some comments, guys, while I type this out. Because I am, like I always say, like, I'm the host, but you guys and your comments and your engagement are the ones that drive the show. 30 plus. It's hard to do this with one hand. I should get a headset. Let's see if my little AI tool. Yeah. Okay. Well, oh, no, they did it last year against the Chicago Bears. So I did that for no reason. But point being, the Broncos do not score 30-plus points very often. And I'm not trying to say that this is a sign of things to come. I hope it is. But to Sharon's point here, the offense is certainly coming around. And like I said, guys, I think the stat line from Bo Nix is exactly what you're looking for, for the rest of the way this season. You don't want him dropping back to pass more than 30, 35-ish times. He goes 19 for 27 today, 206 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns, took 3 sacks, not the end of the world. And yeah, we had that comment earlier from Christopher. Frank Crum coming in, replacing Garrett Bowles there on the right side, I think absolutely makes a world of a difference for the Denver Broncos in this matchup. Taking a look at some of the other stat lines for these guys, they were able to establish the run today. Javonte Williams, 13 carries for 61 yards, nothing jumping off the screen, but it's enough to kind of make the defense have to respect the run. Jaleel McLaughlin, 6 carries for 22 yards. Bo Nix, obviously one of his 2 touchdowns today. He pulls a little Taysom Hill, the Sean Payton special, dropping that football right over the goal line for the touchdown. And at that point, the game felt like it was out of reach. I know that the Raiders kept trying to claw back, but this defense, they know how to bend but don't break. And you want to almost get that out of your system early like they did in this game. Let the Raiders start kind of feeling themselves a little bit, right? Let them think that they can waltz into Empower Field and take down the Broncos before you shut on them, just like the Broncos did. Like I said, from the time that the Raiders led 10-0, it was essentially all Broncos at that point. 27, what is that? 35 unanswered, or 30 is 34 unanswered points essentially from the Broncos before the Raiders end up scoring 8 there in the fourth quarter. And so I think I agree with the comments that we got as well. That Patrick Surtain interception was an absolute game changer. So let me hit my final break because I want to keep going and I don't want to have to do one short segment. Let me hit my final break. We'll zoom through this and then we'll come back and drop some comments in the meantime. While I'm doing my ad read, think about if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts. I see I've got one that I'm going to push up on the screen here in just a moment. What do you guys, how's Broncos country feeling out there? It's a victory show. Drop some comments. Are you optimistic about the season moving forward? What is the ceiling for this team after today's win against the Las Vegas Raiders? Drop some comments and I'll be right back after the ad break right here on your Locked On Broncos POSTCAST. Back in a few. All right, you guys, where is my lower third? There it is. Let me tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Broncos covered today, -2.5. The over cashed. I won some decent money today. I had a Texans +2.5, I want to say. I bet them early in the week. The Ravens and Bengals over came through for me. I got the Steelers tonight. If you're looking to get some action on Sunday Night Football, it was a good day at the office for me. I was on Broncos -2.5. So if you were on the Broncos, If you were on the over, congratulations. If you were on Bo Nix, anytime touchdown scorer, you were cashing that one today. So be sure to check out our friends over at FanDuel, guys, and take advantage of that promotion. All right, welcome on back into your Locked On Broncos postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP on Instagram and X. And a quick little preview over on the Mile High Sports YouTube channel. I had an opportunity to sit down with Colorado Buffalo's cornerback, DJ McKinney, for a one-on-one interview. I'll drop that either Monday or Tuesday on the Mile High Sports YouTube channel. So if you want to check that out, be sure to head over there. And while you're here, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to that Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. That way you guys never miss an episode of your Locked On Broncos, Locked On Buffs, Locked On Rockies, and Locked On Nuggets postcast, all hosted by yours truly. But we got a couple of comments here that I want to get to, if I could pull them up. Broncos offense has to be 80% run and 20% pass. With our defense, we can win games if we just step into the run game and lean on Jaleel McLaughlin and Javonte Williams. 100%. And that's why I said what I said about the stat line today from Bo Nix. I forget which game it was, but he had one game, I think he maybe it was over 40 passing attempts in the game. And I understand when you're down, you have to try to open up the playbook here a little bit. But the Broncos' recipe for success in year one of the Bo Nix era and year two of the Sean Payton era is to simplify the game plan. And I actually draw a lot of parallels between the Broncos and the Buffs to an extent, because I think the Buffs get very pass happy. Obviously, they've got Shador and Travis and all those receivers out there. But when it comes to the Broncos, who are maybe a little deficient of talent at the wide receiver position, it's Josh Reynolds, it's Cortland Sutton, and then kind of a mix of guys. Establishing the run will go a long, long way in helping this Denver Broncos team win games like they did today. And at the end of the day, come from behind, because that is the trademark of a competitive team, of a winning team in the NFL, is you can get kicked in the mouth and still figure out a way to get back up and keep moving forward and not letting the moment get too big for you and scrapping the entire game plan. Stay committed to your process. I feel like that's what the Denver Broncos did today, and I think establishing that run game was absolutely important. Looking at the receiving today, everybody got some love. Javonte Williams, he was the Broncos' leading receiver, 5 receptions for 50 yards. Little Jordan Humphrey getting involved. He had a nice play. A couple of nice plays, the long being the 27-yard reception, of course. 2 receptions for 48 yards. Cortland Sutton, who's supposed to be the Broncos' WR1, 2 for 32, but did have a 24-yard reception as well. Troy Franklin, welcome to the NFL, my friend. 1 reception for 20 yards on 2 targets. Like to see that. Adam Troutman had a reception for 19 yards. Josh Reynolds, as I mentioned, with a touchdown reception today. And then really outside of that, a couple of other guys getting involved. Nate Atkins had a reception. Marvin Mims had a reception. Michael Burton had a reception. And Lucas Kroll, who was active for this game as Greg Dulcich was kind of shown the bench. Wanted to see what Lucas Kroll can give them at the tight end position. And I want to say I do not disagree with that whatsoever. I mean, what have you guys seen from Greg Dulcich, outside of him being on the sideline because he's hurt? And I mean, no disrespect to that, but even when he's been on the field, the pass blocking's not great. The run blocking's not great. Just I don't know if I can trust Greg Dulcich moving forward as your definitive starting tight end. So we'll see what Sean Payton does with the roster coming up here next week. But at the end of the day, guys, I thought it was just a clean victory for the Denver Broncos once that Patrick Surtain interception came to be, of course, for a pick 6. You also had a nice return. Tremont Smith had two returns, 61 yards, the long being a 38-yarder. Punt return, Marvin Mims had 54 yards in the punt. Will Lutz today, 2 for 2 from the field goals, did get bailed out there with his first one. Riley Dixon's a great punter as well. And really, whichever way you slice it, man, I mean, this Broncos defense, Justin Strnad, who we weren't sure was going to make the team this season, leads the Broncos today in total tackles. He had 7 solos. Brandon Jones continues to prove his value as an offseason addition. 8 tackles, 3 of them being solo. I mean, a bunch of guys getting involved today. Cody Barton was 7. Zach Allen was 7. Jaquan McMillan with 5. Riley Moss with 4 and a tutty, or an interception, And that, to me, if they can continue to try to get at least decent amount of pressure on the quarterback, you're going to set yourself up for success if you're the Denver Broncos, because as I mentioned, you've got the best cornerback in the NFL on one side in Patrick Surtain, and you've got a guy who's not too shabby either mirroring him on the other side in Riley Moss. So all in all, it's a good victory for the Denver Broncos as they snap their losing skid versus the Las Vegas Raiders 34-18. You absolutely love to see it. And they've got another divisional game coming up next week. They'll be at home again. I mean, could you imagine if the Broncos are able to win this one next week against the Chargers? The Chargers are a bit of an up and down team right now. I know they've got Harbaugh. Herbert's a little banged up right now. But, if the Broncos can figure out a way to beat the Chargers at home, man, and you're 4-2 moving forward, I'm not trying to get too crazy here, but you're going to exceed expectations of a lot of people around the NFL, because I remember watching some shows, reading some articles, people talking about how the Broncos have the worst roster in the league. And look, once that Russell Wilson money comes off the books, could you imagine if the Broncos could be a 500 or a 9-10 win team this year, and you get some more money that you're able to play with in a couple of seasons, and you continue to draft and develop some high quality guys? I mean, look, things are starting to shape up for the Denver Broncos. I know it hasn't been conventional. Thankfully, they save us there with a nice explosion in the second half offensively, because it seems like the Broncos have been one of the most boring teams to watch on a game in and game out basis for the last few seasons, but not today, as their offense puts up the points in their victory over the Las Vegas Raiders 34-18. They were shut out in the first quarter. 13 points. They respond with 2 in the second quarter. Of course, some of those coming from Patrick Surtain. They had a touchdown in the third quarter, and they put the game to bed with 14 points in the fourth quarter. If you guys have any last-second comments, be sure to drop them now so I can get them on out there. But like I said, they've got the Chargers coming up next week. Should be an interesting matchup, and you've got to think that this Broncos team is starting to feel themselves a little bit. I saw some stuff on social media that the local media was a little delayed kind of getting into the locker room, because Sean Payton does something called Club Dub, which is, they essentially turn the locker room into like a nightclub after they win these big games, or just win games in general. So I'm sure the Broncos players are feeling good, and I'm excited to get on social media and see how everything's playing out as well. So do me a favor, make sure to subscribe to that Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. If you want more Broncos content as well, my guy Cody Rourke and Sarah Bettinger have you covered on the Locked On Broncos podcast. And head over to the Mile High Sports YouTube channel, where Denver Post columnist Troy Rank will have his post-game show up either this evening or tomorrow morning. So we got Troy on Mile High Sports. We've got me on Locked On Sports Denver. And of course, you've got Cody and the boys on Locked On Broncos podcast as well. But all right, guys, what a game. What a win for the Denver Broncos as they beat their rival Las Vegas Raiders. Your final score, 34-18. Bo Nix looking better. Patrick Surtain solidifies himself as the best cornerback in the league. And speaking of best things in the league, those uniforms that the Broncos wore today, chef's kiss. And that's how we'll go ahead and end the show here today. So enjoy your Sunday evening, enjoy the victory evening, enjoy Victory Monday, and make sure to subscribe to that Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel, guys. That way you never, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Broncos postcast. That's it for me, folks. Enjoy your Sunday, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Let the good times roll. Hopefully they beat the Chargers. We'll be here after the game, but for now, it's a victory. Have a good one, folks.